Hello, welcome everybody. You are at ParaPara, an intersection of dance and fashion panel, and yeah, we're very excited to get started. So let's get started. That's me. This is me. I'm Plentiful Pie. I'm usually a sweet Lolita, and also I'm very interested in Hime and like Aigejo style. I'm not in like any groups yet, but now that Jupitan says that she's in NorCal, I might have to sneak my way in.
Do
it. I've been into ParaPara since 2005. Although I didn't really take it seriously until like last few years. If you want to follow me, my social is Plentiful Pie at Instagram. And I'm so lucky. Please say a big thank you that I have D-tan with me.
Yay. I'm D-tan. I've been around for a very long time. I started doing ParaPara in 2001, and I've been into Gyaru since about 2001, but I was too young for it, so I like really got into it probably more in 2006 when the Gyaru boom was really big in Japan, because I was actually in Tokyo at the same time, so I hung out with a lot of the Gyarusas. And that was a lot of really good experiences. Like what Jupitan said in the last panel, she was talking about their dancing on the streets. That's absolutely accurate. That's what they really did. And you can find me on Instagram at dton0914. And most of my social media is the same username too.
Mm-hmm. Great. So those are the introductions. And so for today, for our panel, we'll start with a little bit of a definition of ParaPara. And then we'll take you through the history from the first boom to the fourth boom. And we'll talk specifically about the fashion, because I think that's what people are interested in. And also how it intersects with the Gyaru culture as well. We'll also talk about the current state of ParaPara, which is really interesting given our current situation. And lastly, if you're interested, I'm going to throw in so many links at you, so many resources at you. If you're interested in checking it out. And also, if there's time, we'll do a little bit of Q&A. So good. Yay. Excited. So let's get started. First, what is ParaPara? I think most people know ParaPara from like the arcade machine, like when they go to a convention and they see this like contraption and like they think it's cool. Or people know it from Hinoi Team, Night of Fire. That was like a very popular like song. So I feel like most people know ParaPara through these two channels. But basically, it's a line dance. That means everyone's doing the same moves. It is usually done to Eurobeat music or Italo-Euro music. Every song has its own routine. So every song has its own choreography. There are some shared moves, but every song has their own unique choreography. And the basic movements are including like sidestepping. So usually start stepping with your right foot. So all the music is like in 4 beats. So you step with the right foot on 1, 2, 3, 4. Like these are your feet, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just repeat. The movements are very angular with your arms. So like in the picture, you can see like very straight arms or like this, and a lot of rolling arm movements. So like things like this, like rolly arm movements. Actually, I'm curious, Dom, what's your first like exposure? Because I think for me, it's definitely the arcade machine, like at a con. But like, what was your first exposure to?
So my dad, he used to live in Tokyo. So when I was younger, I used to be there a lot. And so I saw like the Genguro back then, they were dancing it. Didn't really know what it was, but once I saw the arcade machine, I kind of remembered what it was. And that's when I got like really into ParaPara.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so you definitely have like I went through like the weeb way, but you definitely have a more.
I went through both like the cultural and then the weeb way of doing it.
Awesome. So we'll go through the first boom. So before Eurobeat music really took off, it was high energy music. So think like disco music, like from the 80s. And back then it was the iconic disco, not a club, is Maharaja. So a disco is more like a classy place where people like drink and like hang out and listen to music. That's from what my understanding is of a disco or discotheque.
Spend a lot of money.
Exactly, spend a lot of money, and like you look nice. It's like like a jazz club, you know, like you go there and like you hang out and like listen to music and drink and like socialize. So that's kind of what a disco is, not really a club. And at that time, this was also the bubble era. And so if you know anything about the bubble era, the fashion style is that those it was like time of excess, like those bright suits, you know, and like name brands were really in. So imagine like those ladies going to like this is a Maharaja disco. They are still around right now. Do you know how many Maharajas there are right now?
I think there was 3, but I don't know how many are open now because of COVID. But definitely the Tokyo one is open because there were the other 2 were Sendai and then Osaka.
Yes,
but I'm unsure if they're open. I know that they had like crowdfunding things. I don't know if they were successful or not, though.
Yeah. So there were actually 2 in Osaka, but 1 closed down. So, but yeah. So the club is still around. It was like a recreation of what it was like at that time, and you can see the decorations are super like gaudy and gold and all that stuff, and like that was really reminiscent of that era. And ParaPara back then didn't look too much like what it is now. Originated as what is called fire step. So if you think like country style line dance where like they're like doing a lot of different steps, that's kind of what it was like, but to like disco music. And this is not a picture of what it was at the time. This is a recreation of it. But think like super sharp, like dark suits, wearing those gloves, and some people have like you know, those like Afro hairstyles, and they would do fire step, which is a lot more like the line dancing that you think of, you know, lots of like fancy steps. There are some really simple ones, and then there's some like really like
intense ones,
intense choreography, like just sweating.
And then they started out doing this because these guys were actually the attendants for the VIP rooms at these discos, and in order to entertain their patrons, this is how it started, was by doing these dances.
Yeah, for those patrons who've got the money and
who spend a lot of money. Even at the current, like the Maharaja that's still open, you have to spend a lot of money to go to those VIP rooms.
Yeah, exactly, for like champagne and all that stuff,
and a secret bar in there too.
And a secret bar. So yeah, that's kind of the origins of it. From what I understand, it's like a lot of fancy steps, and also there are some arm movements that are reminiscent of what ParaPara is now. So from there, we go to the second boom, which is in 1992. And this was the birth of ParaPara Kyoten, which are like the first commercially available videos, like recordings of ParaPara routines that was like widely distributed. And the idea, I think, is so that people can buy them and take them home and learn them so that they could go to the club and do them, right?
Yeah, like, that's exactly what it was. And then the big clubs was Maharaja, and then there was Twin Star, Zenon, and Area.
Yeah.
And then Tokyo, of course.
And of course, this is a very short boom, but it did birth Juliana's Tokyo, which we'll talk about later. This is a screenshot from ParaPara Kyoten. And what you can see, like with the fashion style, is like those. Did you find out the brand?
Yes, it's Luna. No, that was the brand.
Okay. All right. Can you say it again?
That's the brand that's why the nicknames had Luna in them. So Luna Teresa Mori, she's still a really big icon in ParaPara, and she still actually comes out to events to this day.
Yeah.
Which is really
so
cool.
like, yeah. So like you can see the style, like the short shorts and the black boots, and the guy has these like cool jackets and suits and stuff. And like that was the actual style. Like people dressed up to go to these clubs to show off and like show off their ParaPara moves, you know?
Yeah, and be ladies men, get some chicks.
Yes, get some chicks.
And,
like
in these obviously like crazy outfits.
Like what's the thing? It's like it was a way to pick up chicks, like, oh, you know, like you don't know how to do this dance. Well, come back to my place and like I'll teach you how to ParaPara, right? Like that was the thing. And also the really important thing, this was a short-lived club in the 90s, Juliana's Tokyo, but it is such a huge cultural like thing. It was so iconic. So the idea is like they first started playing like kind of techno, like hardcore music. Right, and then they shift a little bit to like Eurobeat music because that was what was trending at that time. But it was just like this crazy club of like people in these bodycon dresses, like really tight, revealing dresses, really short. And this is one of the most iconic dancers, Kumiko Araki. She was like the most famous Juliana's dancer, doing this like feather fan. And the idea is like, you think of like office ladies at that time, they're in suits all day. And then at night, they just wild out, wear these short dresses and like wave these fans around and like dance their hearts out. And it was such an amazing time. And I think most people know this because it's referenced so much in pop culture, even today in Japan. If you think of Yakuza games, there's a whole section of it.
Naked Director, that was a really big thing too. It was
Naked Director was in there
on Netflix.
Recently there was this huge viral video of this Japanese high school dance troupe that did this amazing dance, paying tribute to the 90s, and they have a whole section of it in there. So it's such a good time. I mean, it's just amazing. There was an attempt to bring this back in Osaka. There was a Juliana's Tokyo in Osaka.
But I think it closed because of COVID, right?
Yeah, it also closed. Yeah, it also closed, which is very sad. But it was such a. There's only one thing you learn from this panel is that you have to understand how iconic these feather fans and these dresses are.
And you'll see them constantly through like Japanese culture through the years. They'll go back and reference this very short period of time.
Exactly. Yeah. I think I read somewhere that so where they are standing is called the Otachidai, right? Like the stage, right?
Correct.
And people would like claw their ways to the stage to dance on that stage. Right?
I know because I've done it.
You've done it?
I got a concussion one time from falling off the Otachi dive, trying to beat somebody up to get up there.
Oh my god! Yeah.
At Belfari, that was fun.
Man. Yeah.
But so another thing about the Otachi dive is that only women are allowed on it. So you'll see in the picture there's men underneath. That's because they had to dance down there, or they also did it to like look up their dresses too, because they're pervs.
Yeah. But yeah, only women are allowed on the Otachi Tai. But it was a fierce competition. Like people would claw their ways, like throw people off just so they could get a spot on it. Nowadays it's just like, oh, you want to go there? Here you go.
Yeah.
Like
except at like Agafara, I think that's the only place where it's still like kind of competitive. But that's because it's like reliving like the pastime, like these times.
Exactly. I think I was on there. For a while, and no one stopped me, even though I wasn't dancing that well.
I got lucky. I got pulled up on there.
Oh, got pulled up on there. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
By Ryuichi, who we'll talk about later.
We'll talk about him later. Next is going to the third boom. I think this is the era that a lot of people are familiar with from 1998. That's when SMAP, super huge, boy band group, performed Night of Fire, the song that we talked about that's been like redone so many times. And also it's the birth of ParaPara Paradise, the series, and also the group ParaPara All-Stars. So I can't find any like better picture, but it's on YouTube if you want to search for it. So SMAP, Takuya Kimura from SMAP performed this whole thing. It's like a whole medley of ParaPara dancing, and Night of Fire was kind of his theme song. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and so it kind of brought ParaPara into like the spotlight, into like the media. It was getting a lot of traction. And at this time, it was the birth of ParaPara Paradise. There was the series, and then there was also the game, which is that arcade machine that you just saw in the beginning. So there were 7 ParaPara Paradise video series.
Well, there's like a couple of offshoots of that, but in numerical wise, there were 7, but in total, there was probably closer to like 9 or 10.
9. There were lots of like offshoots as well.
Yeah, and some that were only regional as well. Like Hong Kong got their own version too.
Right. Yeah. And they are also, some of those videos are also used in the game as well. Yes. And also, although I think they re-recorded some of the stuff just for the game as well.
Yeah, and they filmed it at Belfari too.
Oh, that's where that is. I didn't know. But like,
more you know.
The more you know. but like, you know, the style of it's like they have this like jumpsuits all the time, and like they also have these giant platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Very iconic.
Yeah,
Super
and then two of the ParaPara All-Stars were actually Gyaru. Tomomi, she was a model in Ecosystem, which is like a really old Gyaru magazine, one of the first ones, I think even before Egg. And then Satoko was just like a mainstay in Shibuya. You would see her all the time.
Yeah, Satoko.
And she was one of the main dancers for Club J, or known as Nine Love J also. The Japanese pronunciation is Club J. And she was the main dancer, and that's how she got on here.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for putting this picture. There were 6, but at this time there were 5. But there was a group called ParaPara All-Stars, which included Richi, Satoko, Tomomi, Maki, and
Ryoko.
I'm missing Ryoko. Ow!
Oh, Janelle would be so mad. She would kill you.
She's
coming after you.
She's gonna kill me. But yeah, they were like a super popular group, and they would actually go around and perform. Here they are at Osaka's Automesse 2002, performing on stage to a very lukewarm crowd, I might say, but but they were there. You know, this was like a giant event, and they were there performing. And it was like booming like crazy during these few years.
Because there's a lot. Eurobeat is also very popular in racing culture with Initial D.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of the songs, Eurobeat songs, reference driving and cars and so on. There is also a song called "Let's Go to the Show."
Yeah, literally. Let's go to the Automesse. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So from there, we kind of go into the 4th boom, and from 2005 and 2010, and this is when I started. This is when I got very interested in ParaPara, and that's when things started to really diversify. So the after the ParaPara Paradise series, it went to the Gazen and the Chosen ParaPara series. There was also Campus Summit. There was also Tech Para. So this is what I'm primarily interested in, and in the chat I think Mr. Tech Para is there. So my husband. So Tech Para is done to hyper techno music. So if you think Eurobeat is like updated 80s music, hyper techno is like updated 90s music.
Yeah, it's based off of what they played at Juliana's Tokyo, but it's produced by the Eurobeat producer, so it kind of was birthed out of the Juliana's era.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mix, right? Yeah.
It's exactly a mix.
Yeah. Because like Tech Para can also be done to like older like 90s rave music as well. So so yeah, it's a broad term. And from the Tech Para getting traction, we love Tech Para series. And also we'll talk a little bit about the cosplay para, and also anime songs para as well. Which is done to anime songs. So yes, sorry.
No, I was looking at Kevin when he just said, he's like, I might like that stuff.
I might like stuff. So we have the 4th boom, and it was the start of the Gazen series. So it started as Gazen, and it turned into Chosen. But like, if you just look at the covers, I mean, that's what they were using. They were using like Gyaru to like really
obvious who the target was. That were in high school, and that's exactly what it was back then.
And also, like, even if they don't use models, they use the illustrations are very like Gyaru centric. It kind of like it's like a big mix too. It's like some like Angel, they sometimes use like Hime and like all that stuff.
Yeah, and then on the Gazen cover that's on the left, it's actually all models from Egg and Ranzuki from back then. And then, well, although one of them was actually like a cabajo, like a hostess, so she wasn't like a model in magazines, but the rest are all magazine models.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is a screenshot from Gazen ParaPara Gakuen, the DVD, and yeah, you can see like they're just hanging out, like they use Gyaru models to dance. I always love the kids. They got like 2 kids to do one dance.
Fun story. I was actually in the background of one of those videos. If you ever are in Japan and do the Gazen karaoke, I'm in it, and I'm one of the people in the back.
Yeah. That's
Very
why I got
fun.
exactly. That's why I got Dom to be on this panel, because she knows
I have
stuff.
have the active experience behind it.
Yeah, but like that's how they were marketing it. It's like to market to like gyarus and all that stuff, and
Cool
also
kid.
like to cool kids, and also if people how do I say it? There are some people that are like older men, I guess. They were reminiscing like the older times, and they're also into ParaPara. The second boom, people from the second boom, and like it's nice to look at cute girls dancing.
Doesn't hurt. And also like how you were talking about earlier with like the discotheques, it was more like a hangout place. That's right. Because even back in this time, there were a lot of guys that just came to like the ParaPara events just to listen to the music.
Exactly. Yeah. So cute girls doesn't hurt. And then also they were using, like you said, using a lot of the models. And these are two of the more well-known models, Marie and Rumi Ringo. You want to talk about Rumi Ringo?
No. We will not talk about that personal beef I have with her.
But in case you don't know, Rumi Ringo is probably one of the really well-known models. And she's still active on YouTube doing ParaPara videos.
Yeah, she came back during the pandemic actually to do stay-at-home ParaPara videos, which is really cool. And she even had a ParaPara competition too, like on TikTok.
Yes, she did that. She released a song, she made a routine, and she had a whole competition for it, which was really, really cool. So yeah, some people are still very active. But yeah, you can tell like by the hair and stuff, like the gyaru stuff. Campus Summit was also very active at this time. There was an event, and there was also a CD and DVD series. Do you want to talk a little bit about Campus Summit?
Sure. Campus Summit was like a regional thing. So all the regional gyarusas, or like just circles in general, they would meet up at these regional Campus Summit meets, and then they were just like big shows. They had a lot of fashion, a lot of hair, makeup, and they would do like little ParaPara shows. Each circle got to represent themselves, and they were always in the daytime though. I just could never keep up with that, because back then the ParaPara events would go from like 6 o'clock at night to midnight. Then there'd be one from midnight to 5 a.m. and then Campus Summit was right after that. So I slept through it. I never got to go. I even had the invitation too. I just didn't
go. I think Mr. Tech Para in the chat has gone to them, so you can bother him. But there were also like the DVD series, and like it offers like a glimpse of like I mean, they were like auditioning people to be in the DVD. Like it was such a like a prestigious thing, and like and people will like practice and like try to get the right look just to be like on these DVDs that they would release. So it was a whole big like event that some people took very seriously to be on these DVDs.
Yeah, and they were all regional representatives too.
But yeah, that is such a good picture though.
Yeah, that hair, so good.
So good. And then also from the fourth boom, we have a lot of like more gyaru circles. Angelique actually got their own song, which is super cool. Angelique Shinjitsu no Gyarusa, and they have their own routine. And this was a very iconic routine. Like I think they played this song a lot for a while. This was on the Love Para. That was another ParaPara series as well.
Yeah, and a fun fact, actually, you would hear them play Eurobeat and like these types of songs just out in Shibuya, just cause. Like back then. Yeah, like they legit played them like just whenever. Like I went to Shibuya like every day for a whole summer, and they were always playing Eurobeat, at least somewhere.
Yeah. Or like they would put it in the Purikura machines.
Yes, that is also very true. And people would sneak in and dance there too. You know, wherever they could do it on the street. in the McDonald's, First Kitchen.
Yeah, First Kitchen, in front of the First Kitchen.
First Kitchen was the place that I hung out at.
Okay.
So I know.
And so if I wanted to find you, the first place I would look is the First Kitchen.
At an HMV. So yes, definitely.
HMV. And then next, from the fourth boom, this is actually what got me really interested in ParaPara, is the We Love Tech Para series. It was a CD and DVD series. It went to, I don't know, there were like 8 releases or something.
Yeah.
And it had Ryuichi, who is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at him, look at that stance.
Yeah.
And like
well, this was called Hyper Techno Waros. They're like the main team. Oh, what's First Kitchen? It's a fast food place like McDonald's. They actually own Wendy's now in Japan. So it's like a combo of there you go.
Exactly, yes.
Oh, so yeah, this is Hyper Techno Waros. They really kind of set the curve for what Tech Para became. Because before, Tech Para was based in circles like after the Juliana's time. So it went from like Juliana's to the circles, and then We Love Tech Para happened, and Hyper Techno Waros is the one who really like set the standard.
Exactly. Yeah, setting the standard is precisely the right word. It's like before you would have like DVDs where they just record the routines, but like here they're trying to make like a very professionally made video. So like they try to standardize some of the moves so that people could learn from them. Ryuichi is still active, right?
No, he retired. And he doesn't even dress like Gyaru or Onike anymore. I know that Kevin knows all about this too. He's like a hype beast now, just wears like Supreme and Jordans.
But he's turning to be an actor, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's an actor. He is a naked director on Netflix. So if you see the main guy who's doing ParaPara, and that's Ryuichi.
Yeah.
Kevin, this hurts my soul.
But if you I think these DVDs also made a very strong impression on me because of just like they put in a lot of details into their clothes. Like they're trying to represent. They represent the style of like Gyaru and like all the different styles of Gyaru and stuff, and like they were putting a lot of details into these outfits.
Yeah, all the girls wore just straight up brand like Gyaru, and it was really nice actually because if you were into Gyaru back then, you could just go to the store and get the same exact clothes that they wore. So I actually had a couple of pieces that were from that the girls wore in the videos too.
Really?
Yeah, I had that JSG jacket though, like the pink and like zebra glitter one from Mission Style too.
Nice.
Yeah, except I sold it a long time ago because somebody wanted to buy it, of course.
I kept my JSG hoodie, and I'm gonna wear it to death. I'm gonna wear it to death. Okay,
girl, it does not fit my lifestyle anymore.
Okay, so yeah, if you have a chance, like just even if you're not learning the dances, just looking at the outfits and like it's iconic at that time.
Oh, because also Hyper Techno is very difficult. It's much more difficult than regular ParaPara. So if you wanted to get into Tech Para, I definitely would recommend learning the basics of regular ParaPara first before you get into it because it's much more technical.
It's much more technical. It's a lot more like fluid, like a lot more of that rolly arm stuff. Yeah.
And a lot of it doesn't set to the beat. It's like the movements.
Exactly. Yeah. But I mean, I love the music. I love the nonsense of 90s music. So
also, if don't listen to this if you're with any children, like this type of music, because there's a lot of naughty words. Not safe for work.
Exactly.
Not safe for life.
Not safe for life. That is true. That is true. I would say so what that song kind of scarred me a little.
Man. I have so many stories. Yum Yum was the one that's really
no. There might be children in the chat. We can't we can't
discuss the lyrical content.
No, we cannot. What we can discuss is the boom of Anipara. This was towards the tail end of the fourth boom, so around like 2009, 2010. And this was basically like any songs that are remixed into Eurobeat, and it's still being done to this day.
Oh yeah, it's still kind of there's like its own sect of ParaPara that specifically is based on like Anipara Cospara to this day.
Yeah. And this was actually one of the first attempts to bring ParaPara to the US. There was the ParaPara Max US Mix, the Moves 101 DVD. This was done by Mike.
Genion.
Yeah. And they got some models. They performed the dances, and it was US Mix was like a collection of Eurobeat covers of famous anime openings done by Yoko Ishida. Yeah, sung by Yoko Ishida. In Japan, there was like a whole series. Like there's so many of these, but there is the ParaPara Max US, so it is for the US. Yeah, it is for the
and
US.
Also, fun story, they actually were supposed to have a performance on Regis and Kelly, but it got canceled because a famous pop culture incident happened at the same time. I can't say what it is.
All right. Yeah. But like, just imagine. Yeah. Like, just imagine like a few years ago, it was a big deal to see K-pop performances on, late night shows in the US. Like, I think this was like a similar, at a similar level. It was going to be like an iconic thing. And they did try to bring it to the US.
It didn't work.
It didn't work. But speaking of like this whole like Anipara and Cospara, there's a whole separate culture of people who are just into this style, and like they would cosplay, and there were like Cospara events, like people who would cosplay and just go to events and
they still have them.
Yeah, they still have them.
They're very secretive. You kind of have to like know somebody in order to be invited to go.
Yeah. It is a very secret thing. Even the videos,
they are legit secret.
Yeah, the DVDs that they would produce are actual like secret. So
yeah, they're like so secret they're unlisted on YouTube, and you have to know somebody that has the links in order to watch them.
Yeah. So it's kind of like its own little offset. So the best I could do is grab this screenshot of beautiful Yuki dancing Gurenge, the Eurobeat remix, and this has been like the craze song.
This has been a very popular one.
Yeah, from they're just trying to ride a wave of Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon Slayer. They're trying to ride the wave, and like and the movie too. So the theme song for the movie also got a Eurobeat remix, and they also there's also a routine, and they're heavily promoting that.
Yeah, and their Eurobeat Stadium is the one that created the routine, and they've actually done collaborations with Black Diamond, which is a really big Yarusa that's still around.
Exactly.
Still producing stuff.
Yeah, so they're still like riding that wave of this Anipara, and also it's like all mixing together.
Lots of correlation.
Let's see. So after 2010 and 2019, like it's 9 years. It's called. I didn't give this that name. This is what I've seen some people use. It's called the Glacial Period, meaning there's really nothing much going on. It's very small. It's no longer in the mainstream. A lot of the DVD series I just mentioned stopped getting produced. And it was more of just like any of the Gyaru circles. They would host their own events, and they would still perform it at these events. And then we'll talk about a small wave, a small bloop in 2018. For the event, I grabbed this from YouTube. It was a Vivid. Vivid is a Gyaru circle, and this was done in 2015. And they will have like a special show where like some people who are graduating from the circle would put on a show, and they would get dressed up and they would dance and perform. So Jupitan earlier said like it was done mostly at events. Like this is what Jupitan was talking about.
Yeah, and it's more done of like as a tradition, because actually a lot of these people like during this time they would just do it for the event. They didn't actually care about ParaPara like back in like the fourth boom, like the mid 2000s. That was when it was like actually big, and that's when they were actually like super active with it. After that time period, they just did it because it's the tradition.
Yeah. So Yeah, you're right. So I mean, it's not fair. I mean,
It's sad. No passion.
Yeah, they're doing it because it's part of the culture, but I understand that some people are not, they're into the fashion style but not into it. And then there are people who are the reverse, like they're into the power style and they would show up in like a shirt and jeans, but not into the fashion. So I can understand like both ways. And then also in 2018, there was kind of like a small bloop. There was kind of like a small surge in popularity, mostly driven by Gyaru models in Gyaru circles. Dom, could you explain like what brought that on?
Well, Black Diamond, they resurged because they wanted to bring back the old Shibuya style of like mid 2000s, like 2003 to 2007, and so they kind of did it as a revival. And there was also they had the Ganguro Cafe, and then there was also like another Gyaru Cafe that existed as well. And so because of it, they were like, oh, this old Shibuya style, let's emulate it again. ParaPara is just like a big part of it, so it got tied in with that.
Yeah. So during this like just very short amount of time in 2018, a lot of songs were released. I think the first one was Black Diamond's "Choberi Good Lucky Day," and "Choberi Good" means like very good.
Yeah,
but
literally
it's
very good.
Yeah, it's like a very old slang from what I understand. But this was a very iconic song that got played a lot for like I think like a whole solid year.
Yeah, well, and then there was Inami Nonte Night too, by King Rabbits. That's still played. Like when I was in Japan last year, I could still hear it like being played on the street in Shinjuku.
Okay, yeah, that one's a little bit more.
That one is pretty. Oh, definitely not safe for work. I mean, it's a group like the singers are like a group of like Japanese porn actresses, so definitely not safe for work.
But they were definitely writing that ParaPara.
They made it like mostly mainstream too, because I mean, if I just like if I was just like walking around in Shinjuku, I could hear it being played.
Definitely.
Like just like as recent as like last year.
Yeah. So that song got really big as well. The next song I found was by Thelma Aoyama, I think she was a former gal, right?
She is, and also this song was tied into the rebranding of Shibuya 109 too, I think. And they actually got one of like the original like ParaPara choreographers to do this, the guy who created 9LoveJ, who we talked about earlier.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, he's the one that choreographed this. And then
really?
And then on top of that,
like the choreography.
In this like same period too, 9LoveJ did like a little revival too, and then they created like their own single called Gazen Night to try to revive like the whole like Gazen ParaPara feel.
Yeah. So this was from the music video grab, but it's called Sekai no Chushin, We Are the World, and it was like another like building
very
up on that way.
Yeah, very Gyaru.
Yeah. I think it was around this time one of the brands I think it was WC, because I have some of it. They did a whole line of like ParaPara clothing. So like they have if you see like those like shiny shirts, it just had like ParaPara prints on it, and they were like casual wear that says ParaPara on it as well.
Yeah.
That was marketed around that.
They were super cute.
Yeah, I have some of it.
Yeah, I tried to get the bag of it and I could not find it, but it's okay.
Yeah. Around this time, Egg magazine, which was defunct for a while, but they brought it back in 2018, and they opened up the YouTube channel. And in the beginning of the YouTube channel, they did a lot of ParaPara stuff. So they brought in Satoko, who was one of the ParaPara All-Stars, to teach them ParaPara, and they did a whole video series on it. They also did their own cover of Night of Fire, and they changed the words to be about like current stuff. Like they were talking about drinking tapioca. Yeah. They were talking about drinking tapioca and boba and stuff like that. And they did a whole video of it.
And then they did like the finger heart too.
Yeah, the finger heart.
Yeah, it's in the choreography for their Night of Fire.
Oh, they changed the choreography too, huh?
Yeah, a little bit of it.
Yeah. So this was another attempt to like kind of bring it back and also ride a wave as well. I looked at the egg channel, the YouTube channel, I don't really see that much stuff about ParaPara anymore. They just have the models doing fashion stuff.
Yeah.
But in the beginning of the channel, this was something that like they put in a lot of ParaPara stuff.
And they did multiple covers, I think, of like famous Eurobeat songs.
Yeah, I think so too. And then after that 2018, we're into right now. We are in fifth boom ? It's not official yet, but in light of recent events and the pandemic, there has been quite a shift in attitudes towards ParaPara. We'll talk a little bit about stay home and ParaPara movements, and also the YouTube and live streams. So the fifth boom was brought on maybe by this guy, ParaPara Oji-san. This guy was so popular. He was on Japanese TV, and all he would do is I think he was a former gyaro, right?
He was, yeah.
And all he would do is it's almost like a comedy routine. He would do a little bit of ParaPara, and then he would say a line.
You would have to put money into his tip jar, and then he would snap his finger and then do a segment of ParaPara, and then he would say a line that had to do with like an onomatopoeia, because ParaPara, the word itself, is an onomatopoeia. Like I remember fried rice was one of the ones that he said.
Yeah. So it's like
because when you're cooking it on a wok, that's ParaPara.
Yeah, exactly. Someone said hot uncle. Yes. Hot uncle. But this was also brought it back into the mainstream. He was on TV, and it kind of brought people like nostalgia back. It's been absent for so long, and it kind of tickles people's minds. Oh yeah, ParaPara.
And he definitely dances in the style too of Kimura Takuya from SMOP as well. So very reminiscent of that.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess we could contribute it to this guy. Thank you, hot uncle. But also because of the pandemic, we're all staying home. On Avex, which owns the ParaPara Paradise thing, they started uploading all of the videos on their channel back at the start of the pandemic, and they call it Stay Home and ParaPara. And if you go to the Avex channel, you can look at all of them for free. In the past, it was all on VHSs.
Yeah, it's really nice because everything is out of print. So they brought it back in digital form for free because everyone's stuck at home and bored.
Exactly. Yeah.
And because TikTok got really big in Japan.
Yeah, there are lots of people doing ParaPara on TikToks.
Yeah, still to this day.
Yeah, so this was a nice way for the people to I think it was a trending hashtag for a short bit of stay home and ParaPara. And also a lot of the clubs, they started doing live streams on YouTube. So you can, if beforehand, you have to be in Japan to experience what it was like to dance ParaPara at a club. Well, now you can do that at home because they would live stream straight from the club. You can see people dancing, and live DJs, or it was just sometimes it's just a DJ stream, but you get to hear what the vibe was like. They would play some Eurobeat. They would do a lesson. There would be a lesson to teach you the newest routines, and they would play some hyper techno, and then all that stuff. So you
celebrate birthdays, cultural stuff too.
Yeah, cultural stuff as well. So before you couldn't experience that, but now you can, and just watch these live streams and so on.
You can dance in your chair, then they won't care.
Exactly, and it's much cheaper because they don't have to pay for the drinks.
And you don't have to pay for a plane ticket to get to Japan.
Exactly. Yeah. So another thing I want to really stress is that ParaPara actually has a huge international community, and it's only gotten larger in light of the pandemic because everyone's staying at home. And this is just a quick map of marking all the places I can think of of active ParaPara circles.
Communities,
exactly. California, Atlanta, Vancouver. No, Canada.
Toronto, Ontario,
yes.
Or Quebec-ish, Quebec. East Coast of Canada.
Yes. Mexico, Brazil, Chile, Argentina, Singapore, Spain, just everywhere. There's probably a ParaPara community. I try to start Montreal. Thank you. I try to start my own local one in the Bay Area in Northern California. It went for like a year.
Yeah, you still have some people there though.
Yeah, I still have some people, so I'm very thankful to have met them and come together. But one of the greatest things ever is that someone in ParaPara Chile, Kona Mix or Andres Wayon, has been making these stay home and dance videos. So basically, everyone would sign up for a song based on a theme. So themes could be like around the world, so like a city name, or the most recent one is Ready and Go. So your song has to have the word ready or go in it. And everyone would submit a clip of them dancing. And then he would edit these videos together. And then we would watch it on a premiere. So it was like a really fun way to just connect everybody internationally. And
it's just getting bigger and bigger too. And
exactly.
More cutthroat.
Yeah. The most recent one, it's like 60 songs.
And it was done in less than an hour. I want to say, because I got my songs by literally 10 seconds. I beat somebody by 10 seconds to get my song.
Exactly.
That's kind of scary.
Yeah. It's so competitive. It's like reminiscent of like those days of like Campus Summit of like fighting over who's going to be on the DVD.
What Evan said brings back the memories of fighting to get on stage. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So we're up to 9 series, and I highly recommend you watch some of them. Even if you don't like the dance, you could listen to the music because it's such a nice mix as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I just want to say a shout out to Dom and U-tan.
That's me.
Yeah, that's you. That's you right there.
I'm that.
You're that. Looking hot and sexy right there. On the Stay Home Volume 8, the last volume was Fire and Desire. That was the theme. And recently, from the recent series, there is a collaborative component. So you need to sign up with a partner. And this is a great way to connect with someone that's like all the way on the other side of the world and spread the joy of ParaPara, basically. So yeah, this is a really sweet thing that is being done.
I miss my sister, U-tan.
U-tan is so cute.
I love you, Karin. If you're watching this, I think you're sleeping, but I love you.
Yeah, U-tan is so sweet. She's a Garu as well. Yeah, she's a Garu.
She is, yeah. She's Japanese, but from Argentina, but now lives back in Japan.
Yeah. So next, I'm going to spam a bunch of links in the chat. If you're really interested into getting into ParaPara, most people now is just watching videos and learning yourself at home. So these are some channels that I would recommend. They are the official channels. So I will spam those links in there. There's the AVEX channel, which has the Stay Home and ParaPara. So all of the original ParaPara Paradise series you can watch for free on there. There's the Starfire and B1 Dynamite. This is basically an official club. I don't know, but their choreography they always update with the most recent choreographies, and they are basically official choreographies.
Yeah, right? There's a weird dynamic in Japan. So AVEX owns pretty much almost all the exclusive rights for Eurobeat and hypertechno music, and through them they let only certain clubs choreograph stuff, and Starfire is one of the big 3 is what we call, because the big 3 was Starfire, 9LoveJ, and SEF, which SEF is still around, but because SEF is affiliated with AVEX, because their DJ is the guy who runs SEB, like Super Eurobeat now, they don't really post their stuff online because they probably get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, there's a fine line with that. Like I heard you cannot use, if you're not AVEX, you cannot use the word ParaPara legally.
Yeah, they're trying to copyright it or something.
Yeah, they're trying to copyright it. So there's a lot of independent Eurobeat producers, but they cannot use the word ParaPara in their songs because they might get into trouble with it. There's also Eurobeat Stadium, which we know some people that are in it.
And they're considered an official group too. They do official choreography.
Exactly. So they're in Eurobeat Stadium, and they're also really riding the they're the ones who choreographed like the Gurenge and also Homura as well, the most recent Kimetsu no Yaiba songs.
And then they're the ones that did the collaboration with Black Diamond.
Yes, exactly. There's also Super Euro Night, which is when I was in Osaka. This is what I attended. It's in Osaka, and that is like the biggest group that they have.
That's their official event.
Yeah, that's
and I've been a couple times too. Love the scene there.
Yeah, love Kaoru and Chamu, who are the main ParaPara and TechPara dancers there. Next, these are some YouTube channels by groups. So they're not official, meaning like they don't produce like official choreography, but these are also groups that have a lot of videos for you if you want to check them out. So I'm going to type that in now.
But their quality is very high for like the releases that they do. Like you probably wouldn't be able to tell that they weren't official.
Yeah. So ParaPara Chile is a big Chilean group doing ParaPara for forever, it feels like. And recently they started the Stay Home and Dance series. There's the Kamikaze, which is in Okinawa. I think it's just one guy, right?
I think there's like two. But it's very small.
Very small. But this was a few years back. They did the TechPara International. So it was the same idea. They collected clips from people all over the world doing TechPara. I'm on there. Lots of people are on there as well.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah, very embarrassed. I'm looking back. It's like I'm kind of embarrassed. But
oh no, I actually watched my videos from TechPara International last night, and I was very impressed with myself. I did a good job.
Oh, good. And the weird thing is, like, when I went to Japan for the event, I got like recognized. It's like, oh, you did that song on TechPara International. I was like, oh, really?
Yeah, it's like, oh, you know me from that?
Oh, you know from that? There's also High Cross, which is Chamu, who is in that group. Very high quality, very difficult TechPara choreographies, but super amazing in quality.
Not for the faint of heart.
Not for the faint of heart. Well, you can watch it and like, yeah.
You can watch it, but actually trying to do it is a different story.
Yeah, it's a different story. There's also a new group that I really want to shout out, ParaPara Shochikubai. They just started and they're trying to start like the fifth boom of ParaPara, and they've been producing a lot of good videos
really good
as well.
Quality stuff. Yeah.
Really good quality stuff.
Yeah, and then one of their members actually used to be part of Starfire.
Ah, okay. That's how they started.
Yeah, one of the TechPara guys is from Starfire originally.
Nice. The next list is I'm just info dumping at the moment in the chat. These are just individual para lists. I don't know that's the word they use for people who dance para lists, but these are just some people that I think have amazing channels, high quality videos that if you want, go check them out for more routines. There's Victor from Singapore, who has done he has almost 500 videos.
A lot.
He has almost 500 videos. He films every week, feels like.
Yeah.
There's Para Yura Kuchel from Hong Kong, Yuki, that we saw before.
Yeah, and she actually was in a variety show. She was featured in it for doing ParaPara.
Yeah, I think she was also in the DVD as well.
Yeah, she's very famous for ParaPara. I think she's probably the most popular individual channel for ParaPara, I would say. She also has a lot of videos.
There's also Jessie G. She has, I included her because she just started, but she has amazing outfits. She's Gyaru as well, and she has amazing videos.
Well, actually, she was in it for a long time, and then she stopped. And then because I think of the pandemic, she came back, and she's been filming quite a bit.
There's also Beard Enough, who actually started doing similar to Stay Home and Dance, doing these collaborative video projects. The most recent one was a Halloween themed one, which was very cute. And he's working on a holiday one. It's called Snow Party. So that is in the works right now. And lastly, we have a DJ Frieza, who is a DJ in Japan, but she's been filming lots of videos as well. Even some of more exclusive routines as well, which is really nice.
Yeah, and she was in the stay-at-home videos, the last couple ones also.
Yeah, so she definitely brought in even people from Japan into the international group as well. So as for online resources, the best way to connect is on Facebook. There are two international communities. There's the ParaPara International and the Tech Power International. So just go find out on Facebook and join those groups. You'll get updates. There are also two websites. There's parapara.dance, which lets you keep track of routines that you want to learn and you haven't learned and all that stuff, and also has lots of links to videos as well. And also ParaPara Lovers is another source of information. And with that's it. We got through it on time. Yay.
Woohoo.
So right now we have about 5 minutes. Thank you everybody who stayed and listened. Clap, clap, clap. If you would like, there is a panel feedback form. So if you want to leave us some feedback, it'll be much appreciated. If you're interested in learning more, feel free to contact us on our social media. I'm also in the Discord server as well as Plentiful Pie. I'm part of Bay Area K, so if you want to reach out to me there as well, that's fine. Are there any questions?
I saw somebody ask me about my hair. It's a wig. It's from Yes Style, I believe. It's it's a gold one with like a brown on top. It's pretty sick. I just brushed it out. Thank you.
I am also wearing a wig. This is actually a necklace that I just pinned up to my hair.
It gives you the Hime Gyaru fantasy.
Exactly. Oh, I got my nails too.
I don't.
On a scale of 1 to 10, can you describe your disappointment in Hypebeast Ryuichi? I am very disappointed.
I forgot to get back to that story. So I got onto the Otachi Dai at Agefara last year because Kyohei and Ryuichi pulled me up because they saw me like on the floor, and like I was really good friends with Ryuichi and Kyohei back during like the fourth boom, and so they were like, "Hey D-tan, you're fucking short. Get up here and like come dance with us." So I'm like, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Ryuichi, I mean, like I said before, like We Love Tech Power was like a big reason I got into it. And Ryuichi is like so iconic as a dancer.
Yeah.
His movements.
And he was also the main choreographer starting in, I think it was August 2006. I only know the exact month because I was there. His first lesson that he taught all by himself. That was Bombas from We Love Tech Power 4. That was his first.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and like, you know, he was a Gyaru and like he would get dressed up and all that stuff.
Yeah, and he was in a Gyarusa too, I believe. I think he was in, I don't know if it was Vivid, but I know that Shota was in Vivid and Kyon from Angelique was also in Vivid, so they were really close friends. So there's a lot of like, everybody kind of knew each other from some sort of circle or not back then.
Yeah. I think that's how a lot of them get like involved with like the official clubs as well.
Yeah. And the audition process too, from back then when they had to do the audition process for videos.
Yeah. I think that's how they got started, right? Like Ryuichi and the others. That's how they formed the group. They had an audition, and these were like the 3 that they picked.
Well, and actually, Ryuichi was like one of the main Starfire dancers too, and Shota was also. So it kind of like it just happened.
Just happened. But yeah, I'm disappointed. Ryuichi's like, I had like such a big crush, and I met him in person at when I went to Agefare. And for those who don't know, Agefare is this like huge club rave event, and it has a ParaPara, like a Eurobeat stage, where some of the famous Eurobeat artists would perform as well. And
or type or techno too, like John Robinson.
Exactly. So, you know, a lot of the people, you know, even if they're not into ParaPara anymore, they would still go there for that one night just to like relive.
Relive the Velfare era. Velfare was one of the big discos also. It was actually at one point the biggest club in all of Asia.
Mm, mhm.
And it was very large because I've been there many times and also got kicked out of there too. But
Yeah.
that's a different story also.
Yeah. Have you ever really been to a club unless you've been like kicked out of it? I mean,
that's very true.
honestly, like you haven't been to a club until you've gotten kicked out of it, right?
That's fair.
But yeah, I did meet Ryuichi and like just fangirled.
Of course, who wouldn't the first time?
Right.
I didn't, but that's because I wasn't very well versed in Takahara. So I just like became friends with him.
Exactly.
And then, but I mean, after that first exposure, got really into it. So, you know, I learned a lot.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? I think we have time for maybe one question or any other last comments.
Mm-hmm.
Last comments.
Going.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Beautiful looks. Thank you. It was great. It's an excuse to dress up in this style that I don't ever get to dress up in because I'm always in Lolita.
Well, I mean, Gyaru is like my main, but I mean, with the pandemic and being I'm in OL now too, so I don't get to dress up that much anymore.
Yeah, so I would just like to say thank you everybody for coming, and also thank you Dom D-tan for doing this panel with me. You were my first pick for this panel, and like I'm so glad that you got to share your stories and insights. And
just thank you for inviting me. I actually had a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for the compliments. The next panel is a DIY cocktail mix along with Pretty Princess Club. So you can join back at J Fashion On Demand. Yeah, head back over there for the next panel, and I'll see you. I have another panel tomorrow. It's Kawaii or Kawaii. I'll be trash talking some dresses. Someone else.
Hell yeah! Tell them how it is.
So I hope you guys can tune in for that.